Hi everyone, it's Rob Watson, the module leader for TECH3501 Community Media Leadership, and this is the overview summary of the 18th lecture, which is about report writing. And what I want to do in this session is, following on from the session that we did last week about critical thinking, I want to talk about how your report is evidence for your critical thinking and what it is that we put into a report as something which can facilitate discussion and argument, not from just a kind of theoretical abstract kind of way, but from a practical point of view. So what we want to aim for is a report that can be used, which is the difference between, say, an essay or dissertation and a report. So hopefully you'll find this useful for your project reports as well, so that you're working on in the final year project module. So it carries across to other forms of academic report writing as well. I'm going to refresh the idea of what we mean by being critical. What is our? I like the I like the word disposition. What is it we need to? How is it we need to approach thinking that goes into a report? A kind of sense of open-mindedness, fair-mindedness, flexibility. It's kind of there's a process there that we need to trust. And so we'll look through some of these issues in terms of how this is demonstrated in the structure and the approach that we take to a report. And this is really what we are assessing, part of which is your ability to engage with the academic conceptual problem-posing process that we've described in previous weeks. And it's kind of there's a cycle, which is a kind of reasoning process, but we'll look at different models of the reasoning process. So you can have, if you like, what's the word I'm looking for? Deductive and inductive reasoning. You have abductive reasoning. There's false reasoning. There's rhetoric. There's dialectical reasoning. There's all of these different forms of reasoning which can inform how you construct the argument and the presentation of information within a report. So we'll think about the basis on which the information goes into your report and what it means in terms of you being a well-informed person, a well-informed citizen who engages in debate and discussion in a wider field with other people. And what that actually means in practice for people to have trust. And I think in an age of fake news, and we're going to look at this in more detail at the evidence gathering lecture that we're going to do, is kind of, what is it that gives you trust in people? It's a sense of fair-mindedness. It's kind of you're prudent about your own biases. We all have biases. They shape the way that we think. They are built into how we think. But is there a way that we can overcome or at least minimize those biases so that we're able to more effectively engage with both the positive and the negative, so that we don't give an unbalanced view of how things might proceed, and kind of get trapped in our own sense of intelligence or sense of ignorance, if you like, but somewhere in the middle there's a kind of working ground where we effectively look at things in practice. So it's the kind of mindset that we need is the academic approach, which is kind of reflexive. We think about the process that we're engaged in. We have an approach which is a kind of a fairly standardized approach to problem posing rather than problem solving, and we want to express the questions that we consider and we open up within a kind of very clear. We want to be clear about them. We want to be sure that they are well understood and well adjudged and well marshalled in the face of overwhelming complexity and kind of so more information than we ever need. So it's kind of what strategies do we want to show that we've based our research on and our understanding on in terms of how we've sorted this information, and the report is the platform that demonstrates your thinking processes. And what we'll look at is a good guide to kind of what it makes a paper an excellent paper or a good paper or a reasonable paper or a poor paper. What are those kind of indicators, and what does the language of these things mean? So for the assignment there is an assessment grid with what is expected at different levels of achievement, but where do what do we mean by the language, and what is the difference between these terms, because they're quite vague and subjective in many cases. So it's things like, to what extent are you focused on the topic, and to what extent do you support that with relevant evidence and information? To what extent, how precise are you? Is it full of waffle? Does it go on and not keep to the core topic, or is it very precise and detailed and kind of maintains a kind of focus? So I suppose a good question to ask about this is how this is used. How this is engaged with, and what people get out of it. So you'd want something, if you were reading a report and you wanted something practical and useful out of it, which would advance your engagement and your take up and use of media, or social media or community media, then you would then hope that the report is well written so that you can take those findings and say, right, we can now base our next plan and our next set of actions on these recommendations. So this isn't just about kind of producing kind of waffly academic content for the sake of it and pontificating, as important and as pleasurable as that might be. So we want to think about how people extract information from a report. And so we're asking, what will somebody gain from reading a report? Following that, we'll look at the kind of standardized structure of a report, what it is that we get in kind of numbering system, the simplicity, kind of keeping things very stylistically very simple, using evidence in a report and citing that, and we'll look at the kind of distinction between some of the different types of data and whether it's relevant to the approach that you're taking and if that's clearly spelt out. Things like formulating a question, which is something we actually do at the end sometimes. We don't have a clear question of what we're trying to examine, and that maybe is something which emerges through the writing process and the reflection process rather than being known in advance. We'll look at some citation issues and kind of we'll kind of approach these on the basis of kind of ticking them off, and how we can use some of the the technologies that are built into things like Microsoft Word to do a lot of the work for us, which would be nice, I think. And after Easter, we've got the 3 weeks which are set aside to work on any kind of practical issues, to look at how you write and how you format and things over those few weeks. Right, that's it for this week. The notes are up on the DMU Commons wiki. Just go to wiki.our.dmu.ac.uk and you can download them from the TECH3501 pages. And if you want to carry on the conversation, hop over to the discourse platform, which is talk.our.dmu.ac.uk, and add a topic or reply to a topic that's already there. But I'll see you at the lecture.